Hello there, Maverick Currency traders. This is Rob Reinhold. I'm joined by Anka Sharma. This is the Currency Room. So we have the second week of 2024 in the bag. And I got to say, another so-so week. At least for me, I know we have some traders that are doing well. But for me, I was not very active at all in Forex this week. In this session, we're going to go through what happened last week. We're going to take a look at the broad markets. We're going to take a look at all the currencies. And then we're going to do a fresh look at where the market is now. At Maverick, we say trade the market in front of you, not the market you want it to be, not the market you think it should be. Every time you come and look at the market, you need to have a blank slate and just look, okay, what is it doing right now? We'll score everything from the strongest to the weakest, and then you know what we always love to do, pair up the strongest versus the weakest, and those are our trade setups.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's get ready for next week.
Equities had a very nice bounce back this week. We pulled back the first week of January. We bounced back. We are basically about where we closed the year last year, which was really close to some highs on the S&P and the NASDAQ. The Dow already hit a new high. The dollar remained pretty much sideways. We've been really watching the dollar. It was such a great trade in December, but these first 2 weeks, it has gone absolutely nowhere. We did get the 10-year bond pulling back. And the crypto news, boy, crypto is where all the action was this week. Bitcoin was approved. So the very first spot Bitcoin ETF. Now what that means, we trade the spot markets, meaning we're not trading the futures markets. We're not trading the options market. It's the spot market. The Bitcoin ETF that was created where people could buy this stock on the stock exchange is tied to the spot price of Bitcoin. It's a very, very big deal. But let me tell you what happened. This is a classic buy the rumor, sell the news, because the high of Bitcoin was the day before it was approved, and Bitcoin took a hit after that. However, all the other cryptos, they got a lot of money coming into them, where I think the Bitcoin play is played out, but I really still like all the other coins. Let's go ahead and take a look at the economic news this week. Early on, we had a little bit better, a little bit higher inflation in Switzerland. Look, the Swiss franc has been absolutely rock solid strong. We then got retail sales from Australia better than expected. And you're going to see that the economic news is better than expected for the most part. So stronger retail sales, but less inflation in Australia. We should have seen the Aussie dollar fly this week. Guess what didn't get the memo? The Aussie dollar. That's right. Then we got the CPI report out of the US. Now this was the big one. This is the one we talked about last week. It was higher than expected, slightly, and initially the stock market sold off and the bond markets spiked up. But by the end of the day, everything had been reversed to where I think everyone's totally fine with that. And then we got the PPI the next day, and it came in lower than expected, really calming anyone's fears of that slightly higher CPI report. Inflation is still coming down quite a bit. Pretty much every single inflation measure we see, even out of China. Again, inflation is definitely coming down, which means that we should see bond yields either stay where they are or come down, which is going to be very bullish for stocks. And it really doesn't help the US dollar anymore. The dollar was strong when interest rates were going up. I don't think we're going to see that anymore. We already had a big fall in the dollar. It's now stabilizing. We'll see where it goes here in just a second. Let's take a look at last week. Let's go in and take a look at the actual numbers for last week. We see that the stock markets go up about 1.5%, 2%. We see gold fairly flat, oil down a little bit. Look, oil and gold have been going pretty much sideways, especially oil between $70 and $78 a barrel. But crypto is the story. We're going to take a look at crypto. Lots of good news going on in the crypto space. Let's take a look at the S&P chart. And you can see here that we're right back up to where we were. After a nasty, nasty decline, the first 4 or 5 days of the year, we then bounced up, right up to resistance. Last week, Again, this was Friday of last week, and I said, I think the market's got a little bit to go. We had long upper shadows. We were closing on our lows. Here's the thing. The market doesn't have to listen to a thing I say, and it rarely does. And it didn't pull back anymore. It just went straight up on Monday. And then you can see we just strengthened a little bit, but you're seeing a little bit of exhaustion here on this higher end to where maybe we need a little bit more time to break through. Maybe we get one more little pullback back to this trend line before we break through. Anka and I were discussing this earlier. Look, we both agree that the S&P is likely to break higher somewhere soon. I thought we needed to pull back a tiny bit. And then Anka told me, Rob, overseas markets have already broken out this week. Anka, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you take a look at Japan market, and that's again one of the reference that I've been tracking, and you can see that the Nasdaq market broke out very nicely last week or going to this week. So again, this is kind of telling you that broader markets are looking strong. So it's just a matter of timing. So we just have to kind of see if the same thing happened. But if we just compare apples to apples, both charts looks exactly the same. So I think once we break out, there's going to be a big push higher. And that's something we just have to look out for.
Totally agree. Like I said, I thought we needed one more pullback, but the fact that we have other overseas markets that have already broken out, we're probably not that far behind with the U.S. Now, look, the U.S. has absolutely outperformed everything, but when those markets go up, money is still going to come into the U.S. market. Taking a look at the performance in Forex, I want you to take a look at these numbers. The best performing currency up 0.45, the worst performing currency down 0.22. Guess what? Those are very small ranges. I talked last week, I said, I don't love Forex here. The ranges aren't great. And the only thing we had that was the yen that was really falling, and it stopped falling. The dollar has been totally flat. The Swiss franc was the strongest, and it was one of the weakest this week. I'm in the same camp. I still don't really love Forex here for the good trends. And take a look at the Aussie. The Aussie had everything it needed to break out this week. It had better than expected retail sales, lower than expected inflation. And look at it, the worst currency. I'm looking at this, the pound, the best. For me, there's not a lot of setups. And we're going to go through it. When we go look at the charts, we're going to see there's not a lot of setups in Forex. However, we had some great moves in Ethereum this week. We talked about how much we liked Ethereum better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had a nice run, but you can see Bitcoin is no longer getting the money. One of the things you need to understand about this new Bitcoin ETF that is going to affect cryptocurrencies when we get more of these ETFs, but for the most part, people have not had an avenue or a method to short Bitcoin. Now with this ETF, you can short Bitcoin very, very easy. If you have a brokerage account, you can short Bitcoin. So we have this market that was pretty much a long-only market. Very few people could short cryptos. Now Bitcoin is pretty much easily shortable. When we take a look at these others, they're not so easily shortable. We had a big run in Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks in anticipation. The classic buy the rumor, sell the news. But you can see money is still flowing into cryptos. It's just not flowing into Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the markets. Let's give everything a score, and then we're going to take a look at our trade setups. Equity markets are at a +3. We're above the 20. We're above the 50. The slope is going higher. We come over here to U.S. government bonds. The reason for the pullback we had was the rise in the bond yield. As you can see, they topped out. And we're now on a more of a downward trajectory. We are down below 4%, which the markets really, really like. Equities will continue to go higher if bonds are below 4%. Crypto as a basket, again, this is as a basket. Had a nice little breakout as a basket. So again, we like all the cryptos here, but you can see the Bitcoin really brought it down this week. So look, we still like cryptos. Cryptos are still good. I think you have to be selective on them. Economic reports this week. We do have a lot of them again. On Tuesday, we have both the claimant count change, So UK employment, and then we have Canadian CPI. Pretty much every country's inflation numbers are coming lower than expected. I don't expect there to be any difference on this whatsoever. Wednesday, CPI out of the UK. Their inflation was very hot. It was higher than all the rest of the world for a long time. Now it's coming down substantially as well. Core retail sales, I'm not even going to talk about that. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. The last one I want to talk about, Aussie employment change. I think these are the best news trades of the week. I think Aussie employment change on Wednesday night. After that, I don't see anything. I don't really see anything on this schedule. Remember, we love big news weeks because we know there's going to be activity and there's going to be things being pushed around because of the news. This is a low news week again. We have CPIs, but no one's reacting to CPIs right now. Everyone knows they're coming down. Even when Aussie had a better than expected CPI, it didn't help it whatsoever. I really think this week, again, is not a great week for Forex trading. So the markets are at resistance. We think equities are moving higher. There is a very mixed reaction going on in currencies. It's almost like no one knows what to buy and what to sell, so everything's just being chopped around. I'm going to go through crypto here, and I do think crypto is a better market to trade right now than Forex, and then I'll let Anka go through Forex. Let's start off with Bitcoin. If this chart went back a little further, you could see, but I mean, just look at the numbers, 36,000 up to 48,000. That was a 33% run. That's a big run. Very classic, buy the rumor, sell the news. When we got the news, we shot up and then fell apart. That's what happened. That's what almost always happens on this. For me, Bitcoin, I think it's dicey. I think Bitcoin is likely to go lower. And it's weird because typically we see these things move together, but I don't want to be anywhere near Bitcoin at this point. That being said, I think the other cryptos look really, really good here. For the first time in a while, Bitcoin Cash looks decent. Yeah, it pulled back on Friday, but it's totally fine. But take a look at the breakout of Ethereum. And I talked about this breakout on Wednesday in my Wednesday. I said, look, this breakout is happening after a month and a half of sideways movement. There's likely more to it. And you could see there was another 8% to it. Okay, yeah, we're seeing some long upper shadows. We're going to have a pullback. If there's any pullback close to this 2400, I am looking seriously at entering Ethereum. I don't know if we'll get down there. We'll take a look at a chart here in a second. But I do like Ethereum chart on the breakout of a high base. And Litecoin was the underperformer, and it was getting no love. Look, it's getting bought now just because people are moving their money around. I still don't like it on a chart, but what happens in this world of crypto is that when something did very good and something underperformed, a lot of times the money starts to go into those underperformers. It would not surprise me if Litecoin was the best performer at the end of this next week. That being said, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to play in something that's showing some good relative strength, like Ethereum. Anka, take us through the Forex and see if you can make any magic out of these charts.
Absolutely. Let's start with the US dollar. And I want everyone to think about the trend score here. And this is where you are going to find a lot more range-bound price action than a direction. So again, realize the difference. I know traders did really well in November and December. And here's the reason why. Things were trending. If you were in a position that was lasting days and you were doing the same thing and over, again, that was the market environment. Realize that we shifted as we began 2024. We are sideways right now, and that's what it is. There's no better way to paint the picture. Now, velocity, you can see it's bouncing back and forth. So the range is very small. You know, sometimes you can make money in these ranges too, but depending on how wide the range is. The narrower the range is, you just don't have a whole lot of opportunity to trade that range, but only wait for the breakout. And that's really where the dollar is at. It's not moving anywhere. My bias is right at zero. We'll see where it goes, and we'll change our outlook accordingly. Now, the Japanese yen, on the other hand, was really benefiting from the US dollar weakness. And you can see that this is no longer a +2, but it's actually a -2. In between, yen is definitely getting a lot of back and forth. You can see where it falls, then it goes up, and it falls and goes up. But you got to keep in mind where is the direction. So this is the more directional than not. The fact that dollar has stabilized, it has really taken out some from the Japanese yen. So keep that in mind as you trade the yen. I don't like to stick my neck out for the yen outlook. I think the yen longs are still a tough trade, but yen shorts still a better trade. So we're just going to continue with that till the trend score changes. Now the Swiss franc, one of the best ones here, has gone sideways. You see like the big movement that we had, is going sideways. So 2024, everything is going sideways. So until it really breaks out one way or the other, I would say that even though the trend score is still a +2, I don't want to jump in because it's a consolidation phase. Until it retests a certain level, like we have the 20-day moving average is slowly catching up. If it really bounced from there and started to break out, I would love that trade. But you can see right now the trend and the velocity not matching up. So another currency goes on the shelf here. Now, euro is another currency that I really liked as far as the range goes, but you can see that is a atrocious trade to be in right now. Above the 20, below the 50, not going anywhere. And the range is not that wide either. So again, another currency that goes on the sideways there. Now, if you take a look at the British pound, that's one currency that did well starting off 2024. And you can see it's still going higher. And I had a lot of traders that were sort of wanting to short this move. And this is where I would say, to short a move, you need a confirmation. And if you take a look at confirmation right now, it doesn't seem like it's ready to roll over yet. Velocity is still staying strong. And the wicks on those candles looks pretty strong there. Again, they're recovering. There's a lot of tails. I don't really like this as a short. I'll still consider this as a long. So that's really where we are with the British pound. In the European currency, I think this is the one that's still moving until we get a bit of a reversal sign. Now, let's take a look at the growth currencies. And again, you think that the markets are doing well, so it should be the currencies on the growth side. Not really. Take a look at the Canadian dollar, sideways. We had a lot of movement in the U.S. oil in the last few days. Nothing. And no correlations working there. This thing is sideways. And the velocity score, you can see that it's at a -2. But even though that velocity score might not take us into the next day because the trend score is not strong. So realize that we need that trend score to move. And this is just a narrow range. Now, if we go into the Aussie and Kiwi, that's the last bright hope here. But guess what? Not really moving. It's just moving lower. It's right between the 20 to 50. I don't love the price action here. And especially when the equities are doing well, when the risk sentiment is doing well, it's clearly not following the risk trends either. The only one in the growth currencies that's holding up better is the Kiwi. And I want to highlight that the Aussie and the Kiwi looks better than the Aussie. So if I have to look for a potential breakout, and again, until we break out above the clear resistance and we have a confirmation, I don't really want to, trade this range because it will really chop you up. And those trades, those losers can compound as well. So until we really break out, I'm on the sideline as well. So you can see that as we went through the whole list, we didn't find a whole lot of currencies to short, and we didn't find a whole lot of currencies to go long. And that's really where we are in the currency market.
Thank you for that breakdown, Ankit. And my hope is that the Kiwi does not break higher, only for selfish reasons. I'm on my way to New Zealand for a month. And it's funny, as a currency trader, you all of a sudden you know all this stuff. And you know that when I go there, it's going to be cheaper for me if the currency's been weak. I ended up having a trip planned to London and the UK back, let's see, it was in September of 2022. And the pound had just crashed almost all the way down to parity. When I was there, it was $1.06 to 1. And as a currency trader, I was all excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, things are going to be so much cheaper over there compared to the US dollar. So again, it's just fun. When you get into currencies, you start to see the world in a different way. And I've actually even known people that literally travel based on currency movements. They will look at where the currency is the weakest, and that's where they'll plan their vacation because their dollar will go a lot longer. So just something interesting to talk about. Let's take a look at the trend scores. Lots of stuff in the middle. Lots of stuff in the middle. So as you can see, these are pretty much unplayable. We don't want to touch these. What can we play? Well, cryptos. Very, very rarely. And I'm talking about like once or twice a year, you're going to hear me say, I like the cryptos better than the Forex. I just think there's so much better opportunities in Forex with more currencies available. But in this period of time, if you're going to be long, pound Swiss franc, but Swiss franc isn't going anywhere. So I would have to put the pound at the top of my list. I just would. The yen is at a -2. It's having a little bounce here. We got to wait for that to go away, because when we take a look at velocity, meaning what's moving right now, the yen's a +2. So if my favorite short is the yen, but I come over here to my velocity score and it's the strongest, yeah, I don't want anything to do with it. A lot of stuff in the middle. A lot of stuff in the middle. I also like that CAD as a short. We're at the top of the range, hitting resistance, coming down. I think CAD short is a decent trade this week. Let's go ahead and take a look at some possible setups. I've got 2 to look at, but let's be honest here. There's times in the markets where trading is good. There's times where it's not good. This has been one of the times where it's not good. And as a young trader, I could never lay off the market when it was not good because I wanted to trade so much. This is a period of time where you want to make less trades. You want to make no trades if that is the best answer. So be very, very selective if you're going to make any trades, especially in Forex this week. Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader? My favorite crypto trade is Ethereum. It's Ethereum. And I talked about this breakout, this really nice breakout. And I talked about it on Wednesday. It was about right here. It was about 2450. And I said, look, I know we've had, these little breakouts here that failed miserably here and here. I know that, but at some point there's going to be a breakout. And when it does, it's going to rocket. And sure enough, it has rocketed. With that being said, look at the long upper wicks. So we are getting into some areas where people are taking profits, but we're also not pulling back too much. I am not going to be buying Ethereum here or early next week. I would love to see a base. A base would be great, but if we get a pullback, a quick pullback and a turnaround, I think that would be great as well. Pullback, again, there's really no even resistance points or support or resistance points all the way until 2400. So maybe we do a 50%, take the 50% between here and here, 2400 to 2700, so 2550. And you can see that's acting as a little bit of a support. Again, this is all based on Fibonacci retracements. 50% line tends to be a very good place if the trend is going to continue. For me, Ethereum is the place to look in crypto. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Litecoin is the best performer because it's got a lot of catch up to do. But again, it's just weak. I don't play underperforming stuff anymore. I used to try stuff like this when I was a younger trader and realize, sometimes I got it right, but sometimes I got it wrong. If I just would have gone with the other one, I would get it right much more often. So the only currency trade that I like at the moment, and I don't even really like it because I just don't like it here, is pound CAD. So we got pound as the strongest. I need yen to turn over. I'll look at yen later in the week, next week. But right here, pound CAD, to me, is the only one that makes sense on relative strength and weakness. The problem is it's a decent trade. Take a look at the daily chart. We have some room up to resistance at this 170, 150, where there seems to be some resistance. So, okay, we've got 60, 70 pips. This is a $1.70 trade. So this is like 0.4%. I don't usually do anything under 0.5%. If I don't have 0.5% up to my next resistance level, I don't touch it. But there's nothing out there that looks good. So to me, this is the one that looks the best. We've got a bunch of resistance right in here. It's likely going to hold in this 170.90 to 171 area. A break above 171, I wouldn't fault anyone for going long. The problem is, I think you got about 50 pips before you run into the next level. That's what I've got on it, and I would really discourage anyone from really looking to take this trade. It's the best one out there, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same boat here. There is a lot of setups that you can find reasons to get long or short. But I think this is where you have to look at it as a grand scheme of things. And that's why I'm not just looking at what the velocity is telling me, but right now it's the trend score is really important here. So and one that I wanted to just pay attention to is the Aussie Kiwi. Again, that's the one that I can come up with as far as the relative strength of weakness goes. You can see that this is a -2, and it is slowly moving lower. So this again are the slow trades. I just want to highlight that these are slow trades, meaning that they will move slowly. They might take more than a few days just to develop, but as long as you're right in the direction, you can make decent money off these. So you can see that Aussie is underperforming and Kiwi is outperforming. So if I really have to take a trade and not worry too much about volatility or any of the things, that's the one that I'll take. But outside of that, I just don't have a whole lot. We have to break out one way or the other. I think that's what, as a trader, what you can do is mark those breakout levels, and once you get the trigger, right away that's the currency I need to focus on. So that's my 2 cents here.
And I want to reiterate our saying at Maverick. We've been saying this for years and years and years. Trade the market in front of you. What we just did is we threw away all of our biases, all of our desires, all of our wants, all of our needs, and we just looked at the market, where it is. We had to be honest and say, yeah, it's not great. Crypto still has some decent opportunities. I like crypto here, but I'm looking at Forex, and to me, it's just not compelling. It's not compelling enough for me to risk my hard-earned money in a market that's not doing much. Remember, back in December, I told you should be trading more. This is a great market. Trade more, trade more, trade more. You will not always hear me saying trade less, because there's times in the market where it's great. This is not that time. So just draw back, go do your hobbies, go look at something else. The markets will get better. Things are cyclical, but it's just not good right now. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.